Lie there, Dr. Sheep here. Welcome back to TGIF Talks, episode, I don't even know. Give me one moment while everything loads. Episode 118. I'm your host, Dr. Sheep, joined by my co-host, Anonymous Phil. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Joined by my co-host, Anonymous Phil.
Mm-hmm. That's your name, Phil.
You little schmuck. Now I gotta edit. Joined by our used to be co-host, now guest star, Kyle.
Yep, that's me.
2 weeks in a row, we have a guest host. Maybe next week we try and get Will. That's like what?
Huh?
That's like trying to shoot the moon, though. So, anyways, let's roll the intro. Anyways, these podcasts are broken down into no parts, so we just talk. So, Kyle, long time no see. How are you?
I've been all right.
What have you been up to since the last time we spoke on the podcast, which I think was sometime around the last trip we took?
Well, yeah. So, I won't be graduating this year, so I'll do one more semester, so that's 4.5 years of college or university.
So I've heard.
And I talked to my advisor. They keep on, I think, like every year I get a brand new advisor, which is, I don't know how I feel about that. But this advisor I have currently, we met up and she goes, "So I see you've been taking some of these classes." I'm like, "Yeah. You realize you don't have to take those, right?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Oh, you took that were covering ACEs freshman year of college. And you took them again last year when you were a junior." So my advisor that I had before my brand new advisor had me take duplicate classes. The big one was I took astronomy when that science credit was already covered by when I was taking biology my freshman year.
Solid. But hey, you know what? We got a good time.
But the astronomy class was so beneficial.
Yeah, honestly, the astronomy class, I did sleep a lot in that class. I took a lot of power naps in that class, but I didn't need the credits. I didn't need the extra science credits because I already took science my first year of college.
See, that sucks because
yeah, it does.
Because you're minor, right? Typically, most minors, unless you had mine, count for free electives, and so you take them. You take the minor, and they just count as free electives. There's nothing really too important there. Well, you were taking all these classes and probably filled up your free electives, but you still have this minor that you still need to finish. Now you have to take these classes that literally only count for the minor, nothing else.
So yeah, I'll also get into that. I have a bunch of English classes I still need to take for my English minor. I think I'm done with the English minor after this year. I don't know.
Well,
I'm taking like 3 English classes. I can't wait for that.
Oh my god!
But and like it's not that bad. Except this one professor, I haven't had his class yet, but we'll see how that goes. Because I looked at it as like rate my professor thing, and he sounds very egotistical.
Oh,
and
fantastic!
He sounds like a narcissist.
That's every professor, though.
But that's weird coming from a sir from that field. But also,
maybe in that field.
It kind of makes sense. It makes sense because this guy he wrote novels, like 2, 3 published works that won awards.
What kind of awards? Because apparently, as I've learned, any novelist can basically like post their book in a certain spot in Amazon and become a bestseller like that, and then they can just make an award. Oh, Pulitzer Prize. Oh, wow. Well, don't mind my comment then. Don't mind what I was saying. Ignore what I said. But these are bestseller awards. This is for Amazon. He's just a normal author. Hello? Did he die? I think he died.
Maybe.
Can you hear me?
Oh, now you're back.
Okay.
What kind of awards?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Solid. Because yeah, I've learned this wasn't even I don't know why this isn't even like in relation to what I've been working on. I just straight up have just learned it from just Safety Third Podcast. I think mentioned it at one point because I think they had somebody they talked to who wrote a book, and then yep. Yes, he had written a book. No, he wasn't a novelist. One of their guest hosts. He was a book marketer before he did YouTube, and he told them how people get. Everybody says it seems like everybody has New York Times bestsellers, and he's like, no, most of the time it's Amazon bestsellers, and they just make the seal look like a New York Times bestseller seal. And he says an Amazon Prime seller is super easy to get. You basically have to just, because there's like 100 different categories in Amazon for where a book can fall. And as long as your book is a #1 seller in that spot for, I want to say it wasn't an hour. I think it was like a day, like a week or something. It was a stupidly short amount of time. Like it was not long at all. As long as it's Hello?
So I found the awards.
So yeah, go ahead.
Continue on. Oh, okay. So he was on a bunch of short list stuff and a couple finalists, but the ones that he did win was the NACP Awards for Debut Book, the inaugural Oppenheimer Awards, FT/Oppenheimer. With that one. LA Times cited first fiction, international literature winner. Okay. He's from Nigeria, so he won like some maybe like international interpretation of that. That's all. But he was a finalist in a couple other.
Most Nigerians actually speak French or English because there are like a stupid amount of languages within Nigeria themselves, so they all just learn English or French. At least the ones that go to school, anyways.
The name of that last award is a French word.
Yeah, because I had a professor who was from Nigeria. Really cool dude. Mm-hmm. The perfect professor for the class I was in.
Wait, was it for a business class or?
But yeah.
English, business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I didn't take any English classes.
Oh, look at you.
I took them in high school. So I had.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. Yeah, I took like a fiction writing class. That was pretty fun. My final portfolio was write a 20-page story.
Double space? Size 12?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's about 6,000 words? 7,000? 6,000, 7,000 words?
Kind of.
Depends how much dialogue you do.
At least 10 pages had to be part of one story. The rest of the 10 pages could be whatever you wanted to, but 10 had to be for one story. But I ended up writing 20 pages for one story. And then, what else?
What a schmuck.
Oh, yeah. I had all semester to write that. I started like 5 days before it was due and decided on the fourth day that I didn't like where my story was going, so I trashed the whole thing and wrote a brand new story.
Oh, I mean, so that leads into what I've been working on. So, see, there's a reason why I knew how many words that was. That's because I started my own novel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on my 19th page, and I'm at 13,000 words, size 11, not double spaced. So that's why I knew how many words you had to have for 20 pages. Double spaced size 12, mine's size 11.
Yeah.
So that's why I knew that.
May add another page. I don't know, 1 point over 20 pages may give you another page. I don't know.
Oh yeah, so the 1 point isn't the end of the world. Isn't gonna make or break it for. Besides the point. The point is, no, I've started writing a novel. Fun fact, and that professor, you have to write a 10-page story, but then the last 10 pages, I don't care. I.e., he's gonna read the first 10 and then not read the rest, but still wants 20 pages for whatever reason.
He wants 20 pages, but 10 of which should be part of one story because this professor worked in with publishing, and when you publish a work, they only read 10 pages to see if it's worthy of publication or not.
Oh, maybe I should have made my first 10 pages much better. Well.
Yeah. You need to make your first 10 pages the absolute best.
Well, that's
you have to make it engaging enough to where they want to know more.
Well,
basically, if they read the first 10 pages, is your book something that they feel interested in enough to keep reading? Do you have a good cliffhanger where they have to know what happens? Or can they guess what happens? I don't really care.
I don't know, my book was kind of like a thriller, so...
But if you can guess what's going to happen at the end, you need to change it up.
Oh, well, mine's in a unique position, the first 10 pages. But that's what the editorial process is for, The editor, whenever that happens, is going to be like, yeah, we need to change these first 10 pages, or we need to change the beginning of this book, or whatever. And then, you do
we need to change the whole damn book. Your book needs a complete overhaul.
And that's it happens. You just got to redo it. But back to what you were. But back to your time crunch and how you wrote 20 pages in 10 days, 7,000 words. It's actually
4 days, actually. 20 pages, 4 days.
4 days to write 7,000 words is actually pretty reasonable. So I'm right.
It was not fun.
Well, no. I'm not saying it wasn't fun.
I just had to average 5 pages a day.
Yeah, which isn't actually that. I mean, I didn't find.
It's not that bad, honestly.
No,
I don't know. I had to write. Well, maybe this is because it was Spanish. I've had to write, papers, in Spanish. I remember one of the shortest time crunch I had. Well, it was my Spanish final. I had 12 hours to write 1,000 words in Spanish.
Bruh. Oh, in Spanish. Yeah, that would be a pain.
In Spanish. It was kind of rough.
Yeah, I could imagine.
I got it done. But it was rough.
In Spanish, that'd be a pain. In English, you should have that done in 2 hours.
Because he opened up the final at in the morning at 7 a.m. I think, if I'm remembering this right, and it closed at midnight.
So
maybe it was I wrote it in 12 hours. I don't remember.
So for my book, I've challenged myself to write 500 words a day, which is really easy to do. So right now I'm at 13,000, so I'm 1,000 words ahead. That's just because I'm going to be busy the next 2 days. I have to edit this Thursday, and I'm coaching tomorrow. So it's I won't have time to write probably today and tomorrow. So I had to get ahead. So I wrote 1,500 words today, and I got super distracted. But like I've written 500 words, and when it's a story, right? When you're writing 500 words of a story, is really easy. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I can do that in a half hour, and that's and I'm a notoriously slow writer. So somebody who's actually fast can actually type fast. They could zip right through that, and so like getting 7,000 words in 4 days is an accomplishment in itself. But it isn't out of the question. I don't remember. I wrote when I started the book. I wrote. God, how far did I write that first day? I wonder if I can.
Is it on Google Docs?
Yeah. Can I look to see?
You can. You can. If you click on, you know the spot how it says last change was saved 2 seconds ago or whatever. Click on that, and it'll show you revision history.
All right. Here we go. So, the first day. Well, how does it?
It should break it down by time. You may have multiple timestamps within a day, but it should break it down by day, or at least a day and a time. Do you see that?
Yeah. So in the first. So when I stopped working on it at 3:30 a.m. on January 3rd, I had already written 6 pages. And I started
that was day 1?
And I had that was 3:30 when I stopped, and I had started about 10:30.
So 10 in the morning till 3:30 till 3 a.m. the next day.
No, 10
in the morning.
p.m. 10:30 p.m. to 8:30.
Oh, I'm sorry, p.m.
Yeah, to 3:30 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So like 5 hours or whatever?
Yeah, 5 hours, and I wrote 7 pages. I don't know how many words it is. It won't tell me. Anyways, I'd have to scroll it. And so that's, of which I've pretty much rewritten most of that anyways at this point. Or parts of it. So, yeah, it's definitely... I mean, that was, 5 hours? So you just got to do... So in 10 hours, you could do it. It'd take you 10 hours. But when you have other projects to do... I could imagine.
Well, I remember in English...
Oh, actually,
I took an English class my sophomore year. And I was not the most... what do you say? My time management skills in that class were to be underworked. They were in the process of being improved. Nonetheless, I would wake up around 7 a.m. I had to turn this. So the class was at 9:30. It had to be turned in by the start of class. But of course, there's drive time and all that. So right. I always turned it in, by like 7 or 8. But I'd wake up at 6 a.m. And in 1 hour, it varied from like a page or two because how the class was structured is that she said the course curriculum, she has to assign 25 pages worth of work.
Right.
And so... the students have to complete 25 pages worth of work. Okay. And so it was... But honestly, when you think about it, it's not really that bad how she laid it out. Because she could have either, given us, one big 25-page final, 2 big 12-page papers to do, during the... Because this is over the course of the semester.
Right.
A semester is 15 weeks. You have to write 25 pages over 15 weeks.
That's a
so what she did paper per week. Is she broke it up into like 15 assignments that were like 1 to 2 pages.
Yeah, which isn't terrible.
And so every week at the start of class on, I don't remember if it was a Friday or Monday or whatever, but the start of class, or maybe this is Tuesday, Thursday class. Anyways, doesn't matter. At the start of class, we'd have to turn in our 1 to 2 pages, and I'd always write those 1 to 2 pages the morning of. At least towards the end. There were a couple times I wrote it throughout the week, just because I knew it was going to take some time to kind of gather all my ideas. But I knew the assignment ahead of time, so sometimes I was just like, oh, this will take me no time at all to write. And so literally, I'd open it up and just start typing away. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, I'm done. And it's like it's only been like a half hour or whatever.
Right.
And so I really liked how she did it. And the other thing was there was no set curriculum on what she had to teach. No. So what she did is she arranged it so that way at the end of each thing, we left like what she called like an author's note. We talked about what we wanted the meaning behind this short page to be or whatever, how it addressed the prompt or whatever. And then we told her to grade us on what we would like her to give help on, because obviously, you know, there's a million different things she could go through and mark off with the red pen, you know. But it'd be most helpful if she gave us the critiques we wanted to use. So rather than, you know, spending like an hour giving you the most, you know, trying to pick out every little thing, you know, she would want to spend like, say, 20 minutes just focusing on the things that you wanted to improve in your writing. And so for me, it was all about trying to make the way in which I wrote sound more professional. Because when I read what I wrote, it sounded like something a high schooler could have completed. You know? So, like, I was a sophomore at UNL, a sophomore in college. It didn't seem like I was, like, my writing level was comparable to what I would have expected, you know? Like, when you read a book, it sounds formal and professional, you know, even if it's fiction, you know?
Depends on the book.
It's when you read a fiction book, you know if it's, you know, was written by a kid or if it was written by, you know, a good author.
Right.
And so I'd ask her to grade my paper in that way. You know, what are the things that that you would recommend me changing in order to make it reach that next level?
Okay.
And the other thing, I felt like there was one other thing. I had a bad habit of using also or the word so.
Oh yeah, I got a bad habit of using. I used to.
I got in the habit of having like the same 5 words to start every sentence I wrote.
I have that habit too, but that's from high school.
I had this same. I have like a list of like 5 words. That's it, and that's how I start every single sentence. Then, so, also, just simple transition words like that. Therefore, that's it, and that's how I started every single sentence. And so, she had me brainstorm some other words, and forcibly think about each next sentence, you know. So basically write your paper and then go back and highlight. She had me highlight with a pen every time I used the word so, and then with a different color every time that we used the word also. And she said eliminate that down to like using that word once every 5 sentences or something, you know. Just to cut back. And so over the course of those next 5 sentences, pick a different word that you have not already used.
Right.
And that was her technique, which helped a lot.
So what happened in high school was when we started writing, I remember she was like, and Colin, I don't know if you can vouch for this, but our teacher, she was like, all right, so right now you all write your sentences the same way. You all start them with a noun. Every single sentence starts with a noun. I don't want them starting with a noun anymore. I want them starting with something other than a noun. So like, however, therefore. And she's like, every two, you can have two sentences that start with a noun, and then the next one you start with something else. It's like, great.
Yeah.
And honestly, it just kind of happens naturally now. You know, it's just like, always starting every single word with a pronoun, you know. It's just, he did this. He was talking about that. Oh, you know. Literally, I was about to say, this happened. I literally was about to just skip over doing the noun again, because I just doing that twice in a row, doing it 3 times in a row, it's just like, oh. But, and see, that's where the having a vocabulary comes in, because then you can figure out how to start every sentence a little differently. And something I've noticed when I'm writing this book is I try and not start. So some places just text wall where it's just paragraphs. There's no dialogue. You're getting through exposition, or you're telling the story. You're not really telling it through dialogue in this part. You're describing things, and yeah. I try to not start the paragraphs with the main character's name, because then I'd have like 3 paragraphs in a row, 4 or 5 paragraphs in a row where it's just his name. It's like, no, no, I can't do this. I gotta start with something else. So.
Oh, and the other thing that she did, it wasn't always the same type of work. Like, it wasn't always just fiction. So, I remember we had like 2 poetry. We had like write like a haiku or something.
That's how does that add up to how does that work into the page?
It was like a paragraph on a page, and that counted. I honestly don't know if I even met the 25-page quota, but I think she took it more as like 25 assignments essentially. I don't know.
I was gonna say, because a haiku is 575.
Yeah. And so, or maybe we did this on the scratch piece of paper. I don't remember. Maybe that's the one that didn't count. Anyways, then we had to write a poem. And then we had a few. We had to write like a biography about someone. We had to interview someone, and then write a paper about them.
Ah,
that was kind of fun. I interviewed my I don't know what his position is, but he's like in charge of like the physics department.
Oh,
I don't know if he's like the head. But he was one of the people that I talked to before I considered switching to the physics department. And
I always hated
some of the papers.
I always hated those assignments. It's like, go interview somebody and write about that. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I hated that. It's the worst. So, but before we move on to the next subject, Kyle, what did you write 20 pages about? So you said it was a thriller.
Yeah, it's kind of like a creepypasta, but basically, what happened? I'm trying to like summarize it, but basically, it takes place in this small town, and every year, somebody goes into the woods, and they never return. And eventually the town gets superstitious of this, and they start having like mandatory lockdowns during this time period. And this time period will only happen on the first full moon of autumn. So so on that night, somebody will go missing. The next night, it's technically the second full moon of autumn. So when the moon is at its fullest, that one night. And the main story is with these 2 guys who decide to go into the woods, break curfew, and go into the woods during this night, and they find out the truth of what happens during this night.
And do they survive or do they die? I mean, I don't know if any of us are ever going to get to
I'm
read
gonna
it.
spoil the end.
I mean, are you gonna read it?
Are you? I mean, you'd have to send it for us to read it. So,
Yeah,
I don't mind the ending being spoiled. That's the kind of person I am. I don't. But your brother there, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll just keep it a secret. But they do find out the truth, and you get graphic of gore.
I remember. No, but writing.
I actually want to edit that part of the story too with this, because I'm taking part 2 of the fiction writing class. It's like intermediate fiction writing. So I want to go and I don't know, because I'm really confused with this dude's syllabus. Because he's like, we're gonna be doing fiction writing, but then he's like, you can't write your own stories.
What?
Or, are you understand? Wait, my audio cutting out?
No, I
You said you can't write your own story?
Yeah, so it's super weird.
Like, is he wanting you to do, like, an interpretation? So take New Hope, but write a story?
Yeah, so, here, listen to this. We will hope to use work on the reading list as stepping points for creating our own stories, whether in response to various prompts or as original stories to be discussed in workshops.
So it sounds like you might get to use them. It depends on the assignment.
And then he goes on to say, original stories are open. You could write about anything. I try not to constrain you with page limits, so you could write freely as you want, but for sake of formality, a story should not be less than 5 pages, more than 20. But he's kind of constricting. He's like, I encourage you to write your own stories, but also I don't want you to write a whole entire story. But then what's the point of creating an original story if you don't give us the
What do you mean?
freedom to dedicate our whole entire semester to writing one story?
Oh.
So I think that's how my interpretation is. He wants like original short stories and not like a full-on semester dedicated to creating a story.
Okay.
So I don't understand this guy.
You get to write a lot of stories.
I really
then.
don't.
You get to write a lot of short stories. Then that's a way that's a nice way to just talk, because short stories, when you read a novel, novels are filled with description and dialogue.
This 20-page story is like it will be more of a novella story type deal, where it could be
gonna write a love story.
If someone were to read it, novellas aren't love stories. It's just a short story.
Oh.
Novellas don't have to be love stories.
Oh, I guess I'm thinking of telenovelas.
Yeah, so
those are always love stories.
But that's TV.
True.
Novella as like because you have a novel. A novella is a shorter version of a novel.
But longer than a short story?
I think so. I'm gonna look it up. Define novella. A short novel or a long short story. So longer than a short story, but shorter than a novel.
Short stories are interesting because they...
Oh, here we go. Short story over 1,000 words, usually less than 10,000. A novelette, 7,500 to 19,000. Novella is 10.
I type in define novella into Google and everything is in Spanish.
Are
you translating or are you getting an English result?
I'm getting full on English. How are you spelling novella? Are you using 2 L's or using 1 L?
1 L?
Yeah, it's 2 L's. It's 2 L's, Phil. It's 2 L's.
Yeah. It didn't even want to take 1 L. It's just like 2 L's, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
You have to cut that out.
Yeah,
I will cut everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, cut everything.
What do you think I have to do Thursday?
This whole thing is a scrap.
Yeah.
No.
So a novella is usually from 10,000 to 40,000, sometimes 20,000, 49,999. But a book/novel is about 50,000
or more.
It's a long short story.
Yeah. So a novella, it goes short story, novelette, novella, novel.
That's like a children. That's like a children's book.
Novelette. Yeah. I don't think I've heard that.
Novelette.
Oh.
I think people use novella and novelette interchangeably.
I wonder if most children's novels are novellas technically.
I think technically they would be considered novella.
Because you ever look at them, it's really big.
Does Magic Treehouse count as a novel?
I don't know. It depends how long each book is. I mean, the whole thing could count as a novel.
I need an example of a work that I might be familiar with that counts as a novella.
Of course, I really hate this book. I really do, but the book is considered a novella. It's called A Court of Frost and Starlight. Hate the book. Don't recommend it at all. I spit on that book.
I'm trying to think.
It's a really bad book.
I'm trying to think of books I read in high school.
So
for stuff, but I can't. Or like elementary school, but I can't remember any.
Green Eggs and Ham.
That is not even. I don't know if that's even short.
That is a novella.
That's a poem. It's not even 1,000 words, I bet.
That is a novella poem.
Novella. It's not even. It has to be 1,000 words, and I bet word count of Green Eggs and Ham.
Phil.
Oh, you got to count all the publishers at the beginning of the book and the copyright date.
50 words. Green Eggs Ham is 50 words.
Is that close?
No, it's not even a. I think a limerick is longer than 50
I think
words.
I am.
I think.
Would you eat them over here?
Well, what's the word? Shakespeare's
okay, here.
14th sonnet is longer.
Oh, there we go. The Iliad is a perfect example of a novella.
Really?
Here, I got better.
I don't know.
Here.
I was making a joke because it's like a long book.
These ones are popular forms of literature that are considered novellas. Animal Farm. Let's see, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens.
Really?
Heart of Darkness. Of Mice and Men.
Oh, yeah, duh, of course, Of Mice and Men. That's of course a novella. That's a really short.
I would
story.
consider the yellow wallpaper.
Haven't read
would be considered
Charlie
a
and the
novella.
Chocolate Factory.
I've seen the movie. Interesting thing. So back to the Iliad here. It's 52,000 words, so it barely qualifies as a novel. It's a novelette. It could technically almost be a novelette.
Wait, what's the definition of a novel?
50,000 words or more.
Is anything over 50,000.
Well, I typed it into Google. It says it's over 700 pages.
Right.
Yeah, but you have to count for
read the
words.
Have you ever actually looked at the Iliad the way it's written in a book?
No.
It's not written.
I've seen people read it, but I've never opened the book myself.
It's not written like you would see like a traditional book. So a traditional book is text all the way across. The Iliad is lines. And so you have a line of like 5 words, 10 words, 3 words, whatever. And it's that. And so you rack up pages really fast, but it's only 52,000 words.
But
Harry Potter. There we go.
Because it's an epic. It's a poem.
Harry Potter.
That's a novella?
novel.
That's a novel. I was going to say.
Probably.
I thought about
Harry Potter's
okay,
is
so
a novella.
do book series count as independent novels, or is that something different?
I don't know.
I think each book could be considered a novel, right?
Consider book series Thrones. Each book a part of his A Song of Ice and Fire series. Would that each book be considered a novel? Because I'm looking at examples of novels, and you have Wuthering Heights, Moby Dick, The Great Gatsby, Frankenstein, Crime and Punishment, Jane Eyre,
1,000 Leagues Under the Sea,
Wuthering Heights. Pain.
So yeah, I guess maybe a book series.
That's not a series.
I mean, those are. I mean, anything over 50,000 words. I mean, if you want to cram a book series and say it's a novel, I guess you can do that.
Yeah.
But
wait, but are you counting all the books collectively to equal 50,000 words? Or are you saying one book individually has to be 50,000 words?
I think it's any type of long literary work. I don't think it is constrained.
That's a good point, because when you think about it this way, so when we say novel, we're constraining it to a book, or we say novelette or novella. We're straining it to this idea of word count in books. But
you would consider it a novel series.
Oh, okay. But in reality, what you really need to think of is as the story.
Yeah, because
what's the beginning? What's the middle? What's the end?
Because you would for like.
But the thing is, some series could be, one book. Like the first book is all you need, and then people really enjoyed it, so they decided to make a sequel to the book.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that's up to the writer then, and up to the people who read that book series to decide that then.
Yeah.
Because fun fact, I was reading about Harry Potter because as I'm writing my book, I wanted to mention Harry Potter at one point, and Harry Potter. She had us all written in her mind, or like even before, I guess somehow written some point back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing. She had the last chapter of Deathly Hallows. Deathly Hallows. Written back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Which is the epilogue for the whole thing.
George R.R. Martin, the writer of Game of Thrones, he did the same thing, where the book was practically already written, and he is going off of it. So yeah, but Harry Potter. If you just Google it, just says a series of 7 fantasy novels.
Yeah, Sorcerer's Stone is 76,944 words.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's the shortest of them all because each one gets progressively longer.
Yeah.
Which is why the last one had to be split into 2 movies. Plus, that was the thing to do back then when they made that movie.
Oh yeah, everyone loves to see 2 movies.
Mm-hmm. That's how you make more money. If you separate the final book.
Honestly, I think they could have combined Infinity War and Endgame into one movie.
4-hour-long movie. They
could have made it a 3-hour. They could have made it a 2.5-hour-long movie.
No.
Between both.
No.
They decided to drag it on and explain a whole.
Did you guys ever watch Black Panther 2?
I have not. I'm waiting for it to come out in Vudu, and then I'll just buy it and watch it.
Okay. I think it comes out on Disney Plus in
maybe
7 days.
Maybe we need to have a watch party then.
Maybe.
You come over here.
You don't think they could condense Endgame and Infinity War down to one movie?
No.
2.5 hours?
Because definitely not Infinity War. Infinity War, in the 2.5 hours that it is or whatever, it's great. It's one of my favorite movies. And
I think the only thing I would like to see from Infinity War was maybe like minutes or maybe less. I don't know how you would run it down.
Because here's the deal, right? Let's be honest.
see like maybe 10 minutes of screen time, or I don't know how much.
Well, you're cutting out. I'm hearing.
Invading... You hear me now?
Yes.
I'd like to see Thanos invading Xandar and taking the Power Stone, because one, that would show his military might, because he, at that point, he never had an Infinity Store. All he had was his army. It isn't until you see him taking over Thor's ship that you get the Space Stone, and he already has the Power Stone at that point.
You know, if they wanted to do that, that honestly could just be its own movie. You just make like a war movie.
Mm-hmm. But I want to see like a rated R movie of Star Wars of Darth Vader.
That's what everybody wants. They're never gonna do it.
Or
that's what Rondo wants too.
A Darth Plagueis one would be really interesting to see. If I would have a Darth Maul movie, I would like to see it for the events of the prequels.
Oh my god, the Darth Plagueis movie would be so many memes. It would just be memes. Oh,
it would be, but
it get memes so hard. So
seriously, it could be a really good movie.
No, but I think if you want, just as a fun project, doesn't really have any outside implications to the rest of Marvel, which is why they would never do it. Because it wouldn't fit, is to do an actual war movie. Everybody's gonna die, unfortunately, but a war movie of Thanos going and conquering Xandar. So so you're covered the heroes, the losers, the victors. There wouldn't be any heroes; it would just be death.
The death of Xandar.
It would just be.
It'd be interesting.
You probably how it end up. You have this guy starts, living his life on Xandar. He's got a wife, kids, and then the invasion starts. He gets separated from them. Finds out they died. So like he gets all.
A Gamora movie would be interesting.
Yeah. So then he goes on this rampage. Get his way up. He works his way. He's in the Capitol room where the Power Stone is, right? And Thanos is there. He's about to collect it. And it's just this guy standing in the way. And, he's going to go fight him, and Thanos is just going to murk him.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue. So you can have this great story about this guy trying to find his wife and kids. Eventually, he's like, they die. So he's like, okay, I got to do, I'm going to give my life to Xandar. And then he just gets murked. And that's why the movie wouldn't go well. It'd be great until that very end. And he just dies. And you're like, well, that sucks.
I mean, Rogue One... fantastic movie, and then you see the final battle, the final scene with Darth Vader.
Oh,
peak! That was peak of the movie, because that was so cool. And then that's also a very popular meme, the Darth Vader hallway.
Yes, everything is.